So I've been reading some of the comments online, and Mikey Varas is being put under the microscope after a hot start this season. I'm big on changing tactics, especially against certain opponents that we might not match up well against. But Mikey Varas is big on just changing the players and not so much the style of play. We'll play the same style each and every game. After two bad losses in a row, there's more questions on the defensive end than there are answers. What is Mikey Varas going to do this week too? What players is he going to choose to start the game? Is he going to put those players in different positions that they might not naturally play or they haven't been playing at lately? But the coaching seat is officially warming up for the first time this year. We got to get into it because this week is a huge week in the totality of everything going on with this team right now. Because if we lose 3 in a row, that's nothing less than horrible, disastrous. And Mikey Varas will start to be questioned because I think it's not per se just the players. A lot of it comes down to tactics. But a big win cools off the seat and it can right the ships for the games ahead this season. So this is a must-win week. This week is important. And this week in match day 10, SDFC takes on Real Salt Lake, a team we beat 3-1, our third game of the season, so it should be easy. But if you don't remember the game was 1-1 all the way past the 90th minute. And then we scored 2 goals in stoppage time. We might not have deserved the win, but we stole the win and we'll always take a win in the end. We're going to need to be good this week because we just did not play well the past couple games. Defense was shaky. Our offense was non-existent last week. And then we had a red card. It was not good. The good news is, though, Real Salt Lake has lost 4 of their last 5 games. And they are not a good away team. They're way better at home where we played them last time. They're not as good away. And they play at Snapdragon versus us this week. SDFC, we good at home, but we can't take anything for granted because we've lost 3 of our last 5 games. So we need to pick it up. RSL currently, they sit 11th in the West. We slid a little bit. We're 6th. So obviously we're ahead in the standings. We need to continue to move up. So hands down, we have to be the favored team. But being favored on the pitch don't mean you're going to win. Looking at the stats, what we can see is we really do have the advantage in scoring goals. They have a similar goals against. So both of our defenses are kind of shaky, but our offense is head and shoulders better than Real Salt Lake, and their offense has been struggling. But we got to talk about the defensive end, and our defense has not passed the eye test. Even when we've won games, we have not passed the eye test. And I've been talking about our wingbacks all year. It has been the topic of conversation in the comments since game 1. And Mikey Varas has tried to make some changes, whether it was Bambino and Willie, Negri, Loffelson, Giop coming in, right? We've tried to make changes, and that just shows you that we're not settled. But also last game, it didn't look like our center backs were playing well, and the pairing failed of putting in Reyes and McNair and then putting McVeigh on the wing. The center back pairing failed, and I hate breaking up rhythm. I hate breaking up what is working. I think McVeigh and McNair as center backs worked really, really well, but we need to figure out something on the defensive end. And I was looking at the stats, and so I was trying to figure out what about our defense does not look good. Obviously, I think the offensive players run by and get beyond our wingbacks quite a bit, which puts, our center backs at a disadvantage. But what I found, and most of the statistics were middle of the table or middle of the league when it comes to defensive stats. But I did some digging. I was digging for hours yesterday on something to tell me why we look so bad on defense. And I found we have the worst in the league. We are last in the league in blocks. So blocking passes and blocking shots. We have 69 blocks, and RSL, who is not a good team in this league, have 92. Why are we dead last in the league in blocks? And the next closest team, so the second to worst team in the league, has 8 more blocks than we do, which is quite a bit of a difference. Why are we that bad specifically at blocking the ball or getting in between the ball and the passing lane, or the ball and the goal? And looking back at, the tape when I was watching it, it's tactics. It's definitely, there's some hustle in there. There's some hustle. We'll get to that. But it's definitely tactics. Our lanes are too wide. It allows the teams to just kind of pass through us very easily because we're very, very stretched. And oftentimes when teams, have an attacking style of play, when they drop back into their defense, they usually drop back into a defensive formation. So on offense, you're a 4-3-3. And then on defense, you go into a 4-4-2 shell, because 4-4-2s are more structured. It allows less passing lanes. It allows less space. And you can put more people in between the ball and then the opposing player who has the ball. But when I'm watching the defense, we often stay in a 4-3-3 that kind of shifts on defense. But if you look at a 4-3-3 formation, comparatively speaking to a 4-4-2, there's just a lot more space to pass in between. And so it puts us at a disadvantage. So teams are able to pass through our front line. Then our midfield only has 3 instead of 4. And then they're trying to shift to one side, which then leaves the other side open. And we leave too much space. There is far too much space. And this comes down to technical structure, comes down to tactics. So Mikey Varas does have to be on the hot seat for the defensive end of the ball. It's not just the players. I think we have really good players in Godoy and Sverkov helping out in the midfield on defense, but Luca De La Torre is not a defensive person. Drier's not a defensive person. Chuki's not a defensive person. So who's dropping back? Because obviously the striker's not going to drop back. So we need to watch out for that. We need to watch out for the space. Is Mikey Varas going to make any changes tactically, or is it, again, just going to be the players? But breaking down the RSL tape, they are not looking good. They are lacking in confidence. They're turning the ball over, giving easy goals off those turnovers. Their offensive players, I was watching their last game. Their offensive player, it was just him and the goal about 8 to 10 yards away from goal, and he hits the ball over the bar. They miss goals wide for tap-ins. They miss goals over the bar for tap-ins. The team does not have confidence, and it shows up all over tape. But the things we need to watch out for is this team still does have players that can do damage. Diego Luna, I mentioned that in the first RSL game, and he had a really good game against us, and that's why they were in it so long. Diego Luna can change the game. He got a red card last game, which usually leaves you out the next game, but that red card was recently rescinded. But he is the engine that makes everything go on the offensive end, and we need to stop him, watch out for him, limit his touches. Don't make it like a Georgi Mihailovic thing where he shows up and then can take over the game. Also, Gonçalves. Those are the 2 players we need to watch out for. Those are the 2 players that can score goals or set up the goal. We need to shut them down. We need to make sure we have eyes on them. We need to make sure they're non-existent and make sure they look as bad as they've looked on tape the past, 4 out of 5 games. But I'm still just scratching my head against what is Mikey Varas going to do? And, trying to get into Mikey Varas' head. He's very rigid. He's very structured. It's my way or the highway. We're going to play one style, one way. And it's so simplistic almost. It's almost too simplistic at the professional level. At the professional level, you're playing chess. You're no longer just playing soccer. You're playing chess that is a game of soccer. And he plays one way. He doesn't go away from this. And he's always said it. And I know it's maybe exciting. I know obviously we've scored, quite a bit of goals. But again, if there's problems, try to fix them. So I want to see how he tries to fix those problems. And I think this is a really, really big game. And the way he's going to fix those problems as a structured, rigid person, he's going to go back to very similar lineups as he had. He's going to bring back Godoy. He's going to bring back Luca De La Torre. So our midfield is going to have the same midfield 3. I think Valakari is going to go back up front. So it's going to be a very similar lineup that we've had. Also, Reyes is not going to be able to play because he got 2 yellows, so he's suspended for this game, which means that takes a decision out of Mikey Varas' hands, which is probably good for him. He doesn't have to play Reyes, so McNair and McVeigh are going to be back in the middle. And then I think he's going to go, and this is just a guess because the wingbacks are just so weird. Lawfulson, I think, is still going to play in his wingback position, but I also think Jop is going to come in. I was really impressed by Jop on the offensive end. He kind of went more midfield role last game after Reyes was sent off, and he looked really, really good. So, I think he'll get a run, and obviously Negri's been benched, so I don't think he's coming back on the field anytime soon, or at least this next game. But we need to get our confidence back. We need to score our goals. We're back at home where we're undefeated at home. And I want to see intensity. You just lost 2 games, and the last one really, really badly. You got whooped. How do you respond in the sense of intensity, in aggression? I want people to be aggressive. Sometimes I don't feel like we have enforcers on our team. I think Godoy is kind of our enforcer, Sverkov a little bit, but we're very fancy of a team where, especially, the attacking end, it's all very nice and very tidy. I want to see scrappy. I want to see aggressive. I want to see gritty. So we need to show up from the beginning, from the first whistle with intensity. Put someone on the ground real quick, So we got to get into it. Now that we have the predictions on who's going to start, how we can, hopefully calm down this team. Again, they're giving up a lot of goals. We need to score, but also they don't score a lot of goals. So we need to make sure they don't score goals against us. So the prediction for the game is SDFC wins. I think we're great at home. I think we're going to bounce back because we absolutely need to. This is more of a must-win game for us than it is for RSL because they've been in the dumps. But we're going to win this 2-0 final score. And I can't wait to go back. The atmosphere at Snapdragon, especially like tailgating, is unparalleled. I absolutely love being at the games. You know what? I need to try to show up at the purple lot. I usually kick it in the yellow lot where I get to play street soccer. I'm huge in playing soccer. So I need to go, enjoy the festivities. But LFG SDFC, you know what it is. This is Mike Geo with the Penalty Kick Podcast. Let's go San Diego.